Jaish-e-Mohammed chief, the mastermind behind the 2001 Indian Parliament attack and the 2019 Pulwama attack, Maulana Masood Azhar has resurfaced after almost 20 years and he made his first public appearance. The Jaish chief brought India and Pakistan twice onto the verge of a full-fledged war after the Parliament attack in 2001 and the Pulwama attack in 2019. Every time he appears in public, the ghost of IC 814 haunts. In his speech, Masood Azhar has vowed to launch a fresh terrorist activity against India as well as Israel that will lead to the establishment of a new worldwide Islamist order. According to reports, Pakistan Army had barred Masood Azhar from giving public appearances. However, he never lost favor with his ISI benefactors and continues to be an invaluable asset for them. This speech has once again proved India's claim, and it can't get clearer than this. Pakistan continues to harbor terrorists. This also exposes the nefarious design of Pakistan to bleed India by 1,000 cuts. The Ministry of External Affairs has once again reiterated that Masood Azhar is a UN-designated terrorist and has been behind many terrorist attacks in India. However, Pakistan has been in denial about his presence in the country. Listen in to what the ministry said.
Terrorist, he is a UN-designated terrorist. We demand that strong action be taken against him, that he brought to justice. There has been denial that he is not there in Pakistan. What you are referring to, if the reports are correct, then it exposes the duplicity of Pakistan. Masood Azhar is involved in cross-border terror, attacks in India, and we want that strong action being taken against him.
You're watching the News Hour at 10, debate number 2 on Times Now, Super Prime Time.
Let's take this across to our guest. Joining us is Faraz Saeed, who's a Pakistan journalist. With us also is Abhijit Iyer Mitra, Senior Fellow of the IPCS. Let me start with you first. Faraz Saeed, now we very well know how Bilawal Bhutto was then the foreign minister in 2022, very famously said that here is a person, when asked about Masood Azhar, that he has gone off to Afghanistan. The Taliban at that point of time denied that charge, and once again he has resurfaced, this time in Bahawalpur. He never really left the country. That's what it appears. And at this point of time, also embarrassing Pakistan, because Pakistan has put out a public statement that is not within their confines. What really is going on? And doesn't this really prove India's claim that ultimately there are such terrorist elements who the state there supports?
I mean, to begin with, to my understanding, if Masood Azhar has finally resurfaced and has made a bold statement, and has vowed to fight both the India, US, the fight for Kashmir, fight for Palestine. I think there is a meaning to it, and there is as I always say, that there's a method to madness. There's a story behind it, and there's a proper thought out links as of why Masood Azhar has suddenly resurfaced. Because again, there's something happening, and there's something boiling down there. Secondly, I think I would still respect the government of Pakistan's statement that, Masood Azhar is not within its confines, because again, as we all know, that despite the state's effort to root out the terrorist organizations and their network within the country, there has been a rise in terror activities in Pakistan, from Pakhtunkhwa to Sindh, from Balochistan to Punjab. And it is a possibility that there can be an intelligence failure, and the government of Pakistan is unable to locate Masood Azhar, because again, when there's radio silence from the whereabouts of such assets, or the former assets of any organization or intelligence agencies, they tend to think that, such actors are not in Pakistan and gone beyond the Afghan
Well, that's the argument of convenience, but clearly in this particular case, his supporters in the ISI don't seem to have thought as much. And we've seen that in the case of Osama bin Laden as well, complete denial. And finally, when he was assassinated, when he was executed, that's when we saw really the kind of factual position. But Abhijit Iyer Mitra, all of this can't be without reasoning. There should be a thought process. What really would you say about the timing of this decision, and what does it really go to show?
Thanks, Madhav. Let's not also forget the third great terrorist leader who's under arrest in Pakistan, who was fathering children while he was allegedly in jail. So we leave that aside for a moment. There are three ways of interpreting this. First is desperation. You know, these leaders, they've kind of lost their salience within the Pakistani system ever since the Kashmir Jihad has gone into a sort of a waning phase. So what one way of interpreting it is this man has to come out and make a statement to rally the troops. The second part of it is the sheer bravado out here. He also wants to fight against America and Palestine and things. Honestly, who's stopping him from going to Gaza? It's very curious how every international jihadist wants to and manages to rock up in northern Syria, but they never manage to rock up in Gaza for some strange reason. And for the last few years, it seems they haven't even been able to rock up in Srinagar for quite some with any efficiency or purpose. The third interpretation out here is mostly that this has been sort of set up by the Pakistan army itself. Notice where he gave the speech is indeterminate. My co-panelist is quite correct. We don't know where the speech has been given from because, you know, this is part of the sort of plausible deniability that Pakistan has always maintained. And this might be the beginning of some new attempt. Now, we shouldn't diminish the Jaish-e-Mohammed's ability to carry out sporadic, large attacks every now and then, just not a state of insurgency that existed prior.
All right. And it's a fact that in 2019, the UN committee had designated Azhar a global terrorist and recognized him as an associate of Al-Qaeda. And, you know, there are serious questions about the credibility of Pakistan itself. We all know how when it came to FATF, it was on the grey list. You know, there were 4 difficult years that Pakistan was literally struggling because it is a fact that such elements, you know, as Abhijit Iyer Mitra was pointing out to, are supported by the state. And, you know, whichever be the big international terrorists, for instance, nothing has been done about those who are responsible for the 2008 Mumbai terror attacks. Many of them are still roaming around free men at the end of the day for us.
I mean, if I would want to begin with my fellow panelist who was completely right and on point on that there is something growing up, and as much as I would want to believe that such splinter groups and such leaders of splinter groups and terrorist organizations have lost any sort of credibility because, again, they do not have any presence on the ground. And of course, if they could not fight in Palestine, they have sort of lost what they used to stand for in the past. However, sudden surge, sudden splurge cannot be rooted out because, again, first he could have highlighted India alone and, you know, singled out India. But to, you know, make it a general statement, he included US and, you know, Israel and, you know, fight for Palestine and everywhere. But the point is, he wanted to single out India.
Well, he invoked Modi, he invoked the Babri Masjid, and it's all happening on the eve of the anniversary of the Babri Masjid demolition. So many are going to see this as very, you know, timed with a particular reason to try and, you know, create the polarization or perhaps influence people within these different geographies, particularly India.
And if I might point out one extra factor, because, again, I've been following geopolitics and the changes that are happening. You have Bangladesh on your side, where there's the rise of Jamaat-e-Islami splinter groups, and Jaish-e-Mohammed's and, you know, Lashkar-e-Taiba's leaders coming out with sudden statements. You know, there could be a much bigger game back in Bangladesh where they could, you know, support such actors against India in the future. I mean, I don't know, but there's a large...
Abhijit, we want to come in on that. You know, we have specific information. It's the Al-Qura Seminary and Mosque Complex. The army is reportedly there. If they want to act, there's a lot that they can do, but that's not happening on ground. And is it just coincidental that there's stuff happening in Bangladesh and there is all of this happening in Pakistan?
Look, we all know he's in Pakistan, right? The issue is, can we actually prove it? We can even name the exact spot, but, you know, we can't prove it to any level of certainty. When it comes to Bangladesh, Faraz raised a very important point. You know, a lot of these groups in Bangladesh actually have, you know, sort of fraternal, if you want to call it that, linkages with Pakistan-based terror groups, be it Jaish-e-Mohammed, be it the Hizbul Mujahideen and things like that. There is the very, very real possibility ever since Bangladesh got rid of security clearances for arrivals from Pakistan that is going to become a second front very, very soon. Remember, it was the Jamaat-e-Islami that led the coup that happened on the 5th of July in Bangladesh. It was not the students. And the Jamaat-e-Islami very rapidly wants to gain power, ground power. Remember, Yunus is just what we call a mask, a mukhota. So, this is something worth exploring. I certainly would not be complacent about it.
Okay. Should India be concerned? Should we not be complacent? What really should be the strategy? Because here's a person who's a mastermind. We're on IC 814, the parliament attack, Uri, Pathankot. These are questions certainly in the minds after seeing this particular report. Faraz Saeed, Avijit Ahmed Mitra, thanks so much for joining us this evening.